G'day! Today we are going to talk about rigging. Okay, so we have so much to talk about today because there's virtually endless of bits and pieces that you can put together to build your own camera cage, camera rigging. Okay, we're going to start with some simple stuff, I guess. Rods, they come in different length, different color, different material. You have carbon fiber, you have aluminium, obviously. You have ones that's silver, black. You got one that has holes on it, different threads, 1/4" 3/8 threads. And we call this as a cheese rod. They also are threaded on both ends. So therefore you can actually build longer rods using double-ended connection bits, oops, like that. So you basically put into one end of the rod, and you can join the other rod together, like that. Cool. So that's the rods. We also have what we call the cold shoe mounts. It can be a receiving end or it can be a shoe fitting, and have a bore here that has the shoe fitting on at the bottom. We have a cold shoe expansion that has a shoe fitting that goes on top of a camera like this one, and you have 3 shoe mounts on the top, so you can put your lights, your microphone, your wireless lapel receivers. You also have this kind of expansion, which basically again goes onto a camera or onto this kind of thing, and you can put all kinds of accessories on top. You can adjust the position of it. Right, so you also have these guys, male 1/4", female 1/4", both have a cold shoe receiver on the top. And of course you have top handle like this guy that has a cold shoe fitting under it. So if you want to simply put a handle on the camera, the easiest way is actually to use your the shoe mount on top of the camera, and away you go, like that. And then on the top you have threaded fittings you can put other accessories on, and of course another shoe mount on the top for your microphone, LCD monitors, or audio stuff. Okay, so we talked about rods, we talked about cold shoes. We're now going to talk about the NATO rails, like these guys. So NATO is actually a very popular standard for mounting either your accessory blocks, like that. You can clamp it onto a NATO rail, or you can mount rod clamps. So you put this block onto a typical NATO rail, lock it up, and on the top you can actually fit 15mm rods. Loosen it up a little bit and do like that. So you can go quite creative with these bits and pieces. Of course you can also do a NATO rail standard top handle, which you can put on top and clamp like so, or a side handle which goes parallel to your NATO rail. It goes in and runs like that. Or you can do your rosette to NATO rail, and then you can fix the RE standard rosette handles. So that's your NATO rail or NATO standard clamps or handles. The last item is your rosette fitting, and I believe it's RE standard rosette fitting here. And you have rosette fitting is basically for handles, so you can put a rosette handle and you lock it up like that, and that goes onto a typical 15mm rod. Imagine that's your front part of your shoulder rig, and you can fit a handle like that. And you can also extend the handle via rosette extension arms. So you lock it up like that, lock on the front part of your rigging, and then you extend your handle. So it's ergonomically it's more comfortable. You can actually drop your elbow, and it will become less of a burden for your arm. So that's the beauty of the rosette fitting. So now we talked about 4 items. We talked about the standard 15mm rods. We talked about cold shoe mounts, NATO rails, and rosette fittings. So these 4 items are very critical and very important to remember, because that's how you build your rigging. Alright, so now we're gonna move on to our cage here. We have a A7S Mark II, very popular video shooting mirrorless 4-frame camera, and we have a cage here. Now again, cages come in different form and sizes. We have, this one is a C100 cage, C100 Mark II. We have a Tilta complete A7 cage, very popular this one, because it's got a stop recording button here which connects to the camera. You got a top handle, you got rail fitting, you got Metabon speed booster or Metabon adapter support, and the whole thing is a quick release which you can easily take the cage off the base plate. You also have the bigger size cage system, like this one is for the F5 or F55. We also have this kind of thing. It's actually a director's monitor cage, which got 2 comfortable wooden material handle, and your V-lock battery plate, and monitor fitting, monitor cage in the front. You also have monitor cage. This one is actually a Blackmagic Video Assist 5-inch. We also have the 7-inch coming with a sunshade. This is the Atomos Shogun cage. Shogun, the first generation Shogun is rather a fragile item, so having a cage definitely makes sense. Just quickly run through the Blackmagic micro camera cage, Sony A6000, A6300 cage. I believe it's also okay for the 6500 that's coming. The Panasonic GH4, customized for that camera. And now you also have these 2, which are more like the universal cage, designed for mirrorless or DSLR cameras. And you can see it's got a very flexible fitting, the 1/4-inch fitting, which you can slide. And also on the top, there's a little block that goes into the shoe mount on any camera. So let's grab this A7 for example. If you want to quickly assemble this, basically you can drop down the top plate. Sorry, it's should be this way around. You fix the bottom plate to the camera, and top plate you basically adjust it so it fits the height of the camera, and the block goes into the shoe, and you have a very solid connection from top to bottom, and now the camera is fixed inside this cage. It can be single-sided or it can be this double-sided design as well. So these are the universal cages, very, very easy to fix onto any sort of camera, because the bottom 1/4-inch fitting of the camera is usually in line with the hot shoe or the cold shoe fitting on the top, and that's why these cages works really well. But today we're going to use this particular Small-Rig A7S, or A7R, the second generation, the Mark II cage. Unfortunately, it doesn't work with the Mark I. We do have Mark I cages as well. The way it works is very simple. You basically push the camera into the cage, and there are two stopping positions at the bottom of the cage. Once your camera is hard against the stopping position, you basically grab a screwdriver and you fix the camera via the 1/4" pin at the bottom. Just tighten up a little bit more, and that is it. So you probably noticed that the top multi-interface hot shoe fitting is exposed. Now that's because you can actually utilize this particular fitting for your audio purpose, or maybe for your monitoring. And then from here, now you have the cage, which actually protects the camera really well from 360 degrees. You can now fit clamps for your really fragile HDMI port, and these clamps come in different shape and sizes. The very simple one is basically you have a piece of HDMI cable clamp, and you fix onto the side of the cage, and you basically using this slot to clamp your cable. So when someone pulls the cable, this lock will prevent the socket being damaged. You also have this kind of clamp, or a more flexible clamp that you can move and lock in any position. So these are the HDMI clamps. Now, on the top, because it's kind of awkward to hold, we quite recommend to put on a top handle. Now the top handle can be as simple as a bolt-on type. You can do that. Or you can reverse it if you have a really heavy long lens. How do they fit? They basically just two screws, and it goes onto the top. Now because it's the same brand product, all the thread holes line up between different products. Like this top handle will have thread fittings exactly matching the cage at the bottom. So that's your top handle there. Now that's very simple, but it's not very flexible because you can't actually quickly reverse it. You have to undo the screws, and also it's connected to the cage that you can't actually do a quick release. So what we quite recommend is also potentially looking at a removable handle. So what we do is using the NATO rail system that we mentioned earlier. Before you put on the handle, you basically put the NATO rail on the top of the cage first. We quickly tighten that. You probably notice there are two safety pins that are spring loaded. Once the handle is on, it can't escape from the NATO rail. You just tighten it up, and away you go. So you can quickly take it off, press the pin, release the handle, and then you can quickly reverse it. Or you can take it off for easier storage purpose. So that's your top handle. Now, at the bottom of the cage, you can definitely put this straight onto a tripod plate like this one, and then the whole thing will go onto your tripod. But sometimes you want to use accessories like mat boxes, follow focus, or maybe a magic arm. So it will be very handy if we have a base plate. So this is the base plate that we recommend, because it's actually very, very simple. So you find, by the way, all the screws come with the products. Again, because it's the same brand product, the screw holes all line up. So you don't need to worry about the compatibility issues. Once you tighten it up, there you go. So you now have, gonna put some rods here to balance it. You now have a cage. They have the 15mm rod fittings at the bottom that you can then put on your other accessories. So now you have the top handle. And then you have your bottom rails. You still can put a tripod plate at the bottom. There are 1/4 inch or 3/8 fittings that you can fit your tripod plate onto. So that's a very easy and simple cage, and it's not going to break the bank because the cage usually costs around about $200. It can be a bit more, a bit less, depends on the model of the camera. Top handle start from roughly 60, 70 bucks, and the bottom rail clamp here, the base plate, is starting from about $85, and a pair of rods will probably cost you about $29. So it's certainly quite affordable for a very high quality professional grade product. Now from the base plate, you can certainly expand it further. We're just going to build some longer rods here, like what we had in the beginning. So I'm going to join some 25 centimeter rods with 20 centimeter rods to form some 45 centimeter rods. Now while we're doing this, I'm going to expand it so this cage can be also turned into a shoulder rig. With shoulder rig, you certainly need more length for your shoulder pad to sit on, and also the handles in the front. Okay, so the shoulder pad also have the 15mm rod fittings, which goes to the back. I'll loosen this a little bit. So it fits into that. You can adjust it according to your preference. And in the front, it can be as simple, I'm just going to lay it flat here. It can be as simple as a handle with 15mm rod fitting. Okay, so now we fitted a very simple rubber grip handle with 15mm rod clamp. So you can just be like that. So I guess after talking about the shoulder rigging, we'll just touch on what's possible on the top of the cage. Let's quickly take off that. Now, you probably noticed on this cage there are multiple shoe fitting already available for you, so you can quickly attach monitor ball head. And then on goes the monitor on the top. But what if you don't have those options on the cage? That's when pieces like these become handy. Now, we can do this kind of thing, but it lifts up the shoe fitting much taller, which sometimes can be a bit of an issue because if you have quite a bit of weight on the top, it becomes kind of wobbly. So we also have this guy is a very low profile cold shoe receiver that you can quickly bolt onto your cage. like that. It's very solid and it's very low profile. Cool. So yeah, there's certainly a lot of other options. We're just going to show you guys a few other bits and pieces that you can use. You can have this kind of, for example, if it's a tripod rig, you can fix a monitor bracket. You can fit accessory mounting block. You can actually, for example, have a more elaborate NATO rail handle on the top, and you can have a rod clamp right in the middle of it, and then you put your accessories on the top like these, the mounting blocks, or these kind of threaded blocks. So there are a lot of options that you can do with your cage. And I think in the next video we'll go more into depth about specifically rigging up purposely for example, teleprompters and specific camera models and larger cinema cameras. Thanks for watching.